What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today, there's a fair amount that I want to talk about. We are going to start off with Sun and Moon Era booster boxes. I did the update in the spreadsheet, and I know a lot of people yesterday enjoyed the video looking at the sales volume over time and also just looking at the increase of the box price. So we're going to do that again today with the Sun and Moon Era booster boxes. Now, I do want to say a couple things about this data. The first is that for my Sun and Moon Era updates, each block is for 2 weeks. It's not a weekly update. So this sales volume is based on 14 days, not 7 days. And then also when we look at the booster box increase in terms of price in the J column, this is based off of my spreadsheet's average sale price. The issue with TCG Player on some of these older sets is that they're not super up to date and current. So for example, Cosmic Eclipse, it's still at like $2,863 USD. This box is closer to $4,000 now. So they're not super accurate. And that's why I value the average sale price more on Sun and Moon Era, at least when I do my spreadsheet. But for a certain block of time, there might only be 2 or 3 sales, right? For some of these boxes, for example, May 5th, when I did the update, it would have been tracking May 4th and then the 13 days prior. For that, there were only 2 sales of Team Up in North America, auctions and Buy It Now. So it's not a very large sample size. Now, over a month or two, it does average out fairly well, but in any given block of time, you could have outlier sales that were lower or higher than they probably should have been. And that's why I think I would take some of these price increases with a grain of salt, just a few percentage points, right? Nothing crazy, but instead of something being closer to 60% for Forbidden Light, which I think is kind of an outlier, maybe it should have been closer to like 50%, 45%, because I think that week the sales on Forbidden Light were probably a little bit lower than what they should have been based on like the following 2 or 3 updates. So just keep that in mind. But I think there are some consistent things we can see. For example, over time, there has been a reduction in sales volume. You can see here, if we look at Sun and Moon Base, back on May 5th, there were 12 boxes that sold. And today, when I did the update over the past 2 weeks, there were only 5 sales. And you can see the booster box has gone up about 68% in that time period, about 5 months or so. But that is about a 58% reduction in the amount of boxes moving on a bi-weekly basis. Guardians Rising and Burning Shadows have actually stayed the same, kind of surprising, but the booster boxes are up 24 and 29% respectively. Now, Crimson Invasion, I think this is kind of the best example to use to illustrate the trend as boxes get more expensive, less of them move, just because this is the cheapest box in the Sun and Moon Era, and although it's not a super great set, it is the box that on average tends to move the most over the past couple weeks. Not a ton of sales, but there normally are a decent amount for Crimson Invasion. We went from 15 back on the May 5th update to 4 over the past 2 weeks. You can see that's about a 73% reduction in the amount of boxes moving, and the booster box price is up 17%. Ultra Prism went from 7 boxes to 3 in the most recent update. That's a 57% reduction in sales volume, and the box went up almost 30.5%. Forbidden Light down 25% in terms of sales volume, up 59.55%. Again, I think that should probably be a little bit lower for Forbidden. Celestial Storm, compared to pretty much every other Sun and Moon Era booster box, has actually performed very poorly over the past 5 months. You can see the sales volume down about 43%, and the booster box has only gone up 3.44% over the past 5 months. Lost Thunder up actually 50% in terms of sales volume. And again, I think this is kind of where the numbers, if you only look at it on a bi-weekly basis and you're only taking one data point, it's probably not going to be the most accurate numbers. I probably should have expanded this out, and maybe in the future I will. Again, when I have like a full year worth of data or more, I think we'll get better numbers. But this is actually up 33, almost 34% in terms of booster box price. Unbroken Bonds, Team Up is up 27%. Unbroken Bonds up 52%. Solid gain there. Unified Minds up around 49% in terms of box price. And the best performing Sun and Moon Era booster box over the past 5 months, Cosmic Eclipse, up 105%, has gone from, sub $2,000 back in May to now being like a $4,000-ish box. But if there's one thing I want to draw your attention to in this, just pay attention to the boxes that have performed the best. Your Cosmic Eclipse, Sun and Moon Base, I think is kind of like an outlier, but sure, you can note that. Same thing with Forbidden Light, but then also look at a lot of the tag team sets, Unified Minds, Unbroken Bonds. Sure, Team Up's a little bit lower, but still doing decent. So just keep that in the back of your head because we're also going to go into a conversation here right now about ROI and annualized ROI, excuse me. So I saw a video today from a very large creator in the space who, for a really long period of time, was basically a fan of just buying every set release. And, it got to a point, at least last year, and again, this is my perception of things, and I'm not saying that I have beef with this person at all or anything, but, I made videos starting probably early last year, like March, April, May, in that time range, where I started telling people that investing in Pokemon booster boxes, you should focus the majority of your portfolio on these stronger sets. And again, I've kind of changed over time. I don't think you have to do that out the gate. Like if you want to buy a little bit of every release, that's great because you never know what's going to pop off. You could miss things like Twilight Masquerade, Paldean Fates. I think some people out the gate wouldn't have expected those to do as well as they did. But as time goes on, you want to funnel a lot of your money into these stronger sets. So in the Sun and Moon era, you have Cosmic Eclipse, you have Team Up, and I've been telling you guys that for a very long period of time. In the Sword and Shield era, you had Lost Origin, you had Evolving Skies. I know some people say Fusion Strike, no one really saw this coming, and fair enough, but everyone saw Evolving Skies coming. Basically everyone who was around during that time period knew Evolving Skies was going to be an incredible set, right? And it's the same thing now with the Scarlet and Violet era, Destined Rivals. It's the clear #1 booster box of the era. I saw another creator make a video today, basically floating the idea that some very weak sets from Scarlet and Violet era could potentially be higher than Destined Rivals in the future. And again, like anything is possible, but the likelihood of that happening, I would say, is very low, like probably less than 2 or 3% in my opinion. Prismatic Evolutions also specialty set. It's super obvious. I mean, just look at the cards inside. Look at the value you can get a God Pack. It really isn't a point of contention that these are two of the top sets from the Scarlet and Violet era. And the point I'm trying to make here is that when you look at annualized ROI, so the rate of return year over year, and what you're looking at on screen is an article I wrote back on February 16th of this year. And you can see market prices of all the booster boxes. We have $100 over here, which was purchase price. And I think you could have bought all these boxes up to Temporal Forces for $100 or less on day of release when that set came out. And you can see the annualized ROI for every single set up to February 16th of this year. So Sword and Shield base around 28.5%, Rebel Clash sub 20%, Darkness Ablaze was 16%, Vivid was 15%, Battle Styles was all the way down at 13%, Chilling Reign 37%, Evolving 110.5%, Fusion 58%, Brilliant 42%, Astral 35%, Lost Origin 66%. You can read it all, right? It's there. But the point is, the best set has outperformed everything else in the era by far. It's not even close. Evolving Skies is almost double Lost Origin from that era. And I know down here you can see Temporal Forces 79%. Some people might point to that. Some of these SV era sets are up there as well. I do think when you have newer sets, for example, Temporal at this point was a little over a year old. The newer a set, sometimes you can have a little bit higher annualized ROI than something that's like 2 to 3 years old, 4 or 5 years, etc. So I'm not saying that Temporal Forces is a better set than Lost Origin. Long term, it's going to have a higher ROI, excuse me. No, the point is that the best set of each era, it's kind of obvious that it's going to do better than everything else if you give it enough time. And out the gate, it is obvious, right? Like Evolving Skies compared to anything else in the era. Because I know at the time, people said, well, no one would have picked Fusion Strike, which is up there at 58.6%. And that's fair, right? A lot of people during that time period were hyping up Brilliant Stars, which is down here at 42%. You even had a decent amount of hype on Chilling Reign, that's at 37%. And even if you put your money into those, right? You really believed in Brilliant Stars, you didn't buy Fusion Strike. Well, you would have still been better off buying a lot of Brilliant Stars compared to splitting your money a little bit between Fusion Strike, Evolving, Chilling, and then going all the way down to Battle Styles, Vivid, Darkness Ablaze, Rebel Clash, all of these sets that were really bad investments comparatively to the rest of the era. And it really bugged me for a long period of time seeing other creators on the platform, kind of mock, not necessarily what I was saying, but just kind of the idea of putting more money into the clear winners of each era in favor of a balanced strategy. Because the reality is you can just chop off the bottom 20 to 30% of sets, and you're just going to instantly raise your ROI, right? Like the odds of you missing something that happens to Moon is very, very low, right? It's not like Shrouded Fables going to jump up to like $400 in ETB. It's just not going to happen. There are other examples of booster boxes, for example, Astral Radiance, 35.5% return. This is a set that didn't get a ton of reprints where Lost Origin, Silver Tempest, Brilliant Stars, Fusion, Chilling, Battle Styles, all of those got fairly sizable reprints. Astral didn't get as much attention given to it, and it still hasn't performed as well as basically all of those other sets that did get more booster boxes. And the reason for that is that these other sets, they have better chase cards, they're more desirable, they're sets that people want to collect and open. And this is probably getting way too long and rambly at this point, but it's just good to see that the conversation's now shifting and people are kind of realizing the optimal strategy in Pokemon investing can change over time and being open to different ideas, right, that maybe don't align with traditional forms of investing. Because I tried really hard to have conversations with a lot of these people over the past year, and I've definitely said things on YouTube that probably don't make me the best person to do collabs with and stuff. And, you know, it definitely hurts when you reach out to people to try and have conversations on things you disagree about and you just get ghosted or people don't even respond to you. And a lot of it definitely does have to do with ego and vanity. Like, you know, being ignored definitely sucks, but it's also just when you feel you have something important to share and it's something that probably doesn't get the recognition you feel like it should, it definitely feels good when those ideas start to get talked about more and pushed out to a wider audience that have maybe not been exposed to them previously. Also, just a bit of a side note, but look at these prices from earlier this year too. I'm sure some of you guys have been looking at this column over the past few minutes that I've been rambling, but you could have been buying Evolving Skies back in February this year for about $1,300, basically half of what it is now. Fusion Strike, $450, less than half of what it is now. Brilliant Stars was sub 300. Astral Radiance was like 230 bucks. Chilling Rain, $320. Battle Styles, basically the new MSRP around 161, 162 bucks. Lost Origin down here at $346. Times have definitely changed, guys, and we've seen crazy growth this year. So if you've been here for all of it, just be grateful. We've really been blessed to get into Pokemon investing at a good time, and hopefully a lot of you guys who have been here a while have been able to take advantage of your gains and, you know, put that money to use, whether it is reinvesting into Pokemon or other areas of your life. Again, the ultimate goal of investing is to better our overall lives, so don't get too caught up in the Pokemon realm or the crypto realm or whatever. Make sure you keep sight of what the ultimate goal is. So with all that said, if you guys did get some value out of this, I'd really appreciate if you leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment down below for the algorithm. It does help out a ton. If you guys are shopping eBay, TCG Player, Hobbiesville, I do have affiliate links down below. Free and easy to use. All you have to do is click on the link before you do the shopping you already planned on doing. I get a small percentage of the sale at no extra cost to you. But with all that said, thank you so much for watching the video. Stay safe wherever you are in the world, and I'll catch you in the next one.